Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Idle Hands, the 1999 horror movie. So, this is my first time ever watching this movie. And by first time, I mean in July, because I watched it on Tubi. I'm recording this in August and I'm uploading this in October. And so I remember back in the day when I was in high school, I heard about this movie and stuff, but I was just very uninterested. Then, no joke, I completely forgot about this movie. I forgot it existed. I forgot everything. I forgot the people that was in it. By the way, I didn't even know who the stars were at that time. So I just this completely fell off my radar. But then I was on Tubi in July and I noticed oh crap, I got one more day to watch this before they take it off. And so I'm all oh, I remember hearing about this movie and stuff like that. And so as I'm looking at the cast, I'm like, holy crap, I actually recognize the cast. Except for one guy and a couple of the smaller cast members. But the big name cast members, the main ones, I recognize all of them. So I'm very shocked and surprised. I had no idea Seth Green, Devon Sawa, Vivica A. Fox, Jessica Alba, and I can't think of the dude's name right now, but he's from I think his name is Eldon, something or another. He's from the Mighty Ducks movie, and he's from Daredevil. I had no idea he was in this movie. And so I'm this is cool. I wish I would have seen this back in the day, but back in the day, I never really went to movie theaters. And back in the Blockbuster days, I just never thought about renting it. Cause like I said before, I completely forgot about it. This movie, however, was a colossal failure. Yes, it was a critical and financial flop with tons of negative reviews and everything. It did not even come close to making its budget back. That's how bad it was back then. I think it took 40 million to make, but it only made 4 million at the box office. However, just like with most critical failure movies, as the decades kept on rolling and everything, this movie is now a cult classic. And after watching it, it's a really fun movie. It's a really enjoyable movie and stuff. It is a bit quick paced and there are some things that needed to be explained, but other than that, the movie is pretty solid. It's pretty funny, and you do kind of get oh no, the hand's gonna go and kill somebody and stuff like that. And so it sucks. Back in the day, people could not appreciate this movie, but I get it, because back in those days, you had Scream, you had I Know What You Did Last Summer, you had tons of horror and slasher movies coming out around that time, and Final Destination, which Devon Sawa later went on to star in. So I get why this got kind of lost in the shuffle. I get when people saw the sillier tone, they probably wanted something a little bit more dark and everything. But it just is what it is. The director of the movie, I think his name is Rodman Flander or something like that. Needless to say, he went on to start directing more TV episodes and stuff like that after this movie, because no Hollywood studio would probably trust him after this. Now, one thing I don't understand is, why is it called Idle Hands with an S? Because there's only one hand that is possessed. So I don't know why they added an S at the end of it and stuff. But the title of it is it comes from this old saying, something about devils playing with idle hands or something like that, or idle hands makes for a devil's playground or something like that, or devil's work, or devil's work makes for idle hands. It's something like that. And so so it gets its title from that, and they actually say it in the movie. Now, the movie is more of a dark comedy than it is a horror. Yes, people do die, but it's mostly a dark comedy because there's a lot of hilarious stuff that's in here. A lot of funny one-liners, some really good CGI for 1999. I am still shocked and surprised about the one dude who has his head chopped off and his body's moving around, his head's like flapping around everywhere. They put it up the rest here. It was some really good CGI from back in the day. So they really did spend their budget on something very well. And so Christopher Hart, he is the one who played the hand, and his hand is so famous. He's a magician, and like he's best known for playing Thing in the Addams Family, but he's played Thing in three different incarnations. He played it in the Addams Family, Addams Family Value, that third direct to DVD movie, the one I think where they go like on vacation and stuff, and in the Fox Family, the new Addams Family show. And so, yeah, his hand has gotten around. Speaking of which, Seth Green is in this, and this was during his prick phase when Hollywood constantly kept casting him as like the douchebag type person where he was always rude and cussing people out. He has some funny one-liners in this. They pretty much typecast this dude for over a decade playing like these rude people. My favorite rude person he's ever played was the guy from Reno 911, where like he's pretending to be like a burger manager and everything, but actually he's the one robbing the place, and he's giving like the two cops like a really hard time. So this is after like his Buffy days and stuff. Devon Sawa will go on to be in Alex and Final Destination. So he went from one horror movie to another. And my God, give this man a round of applause. Give this man a award, because my God, the physical comedy he had to do with his actual hand, pretending to constantly jerk it around, not that kind of jerking around, but like, twitching it and jerking it and having it go like all different flying around directions. That took some dedication. That took some comedic timing, and he did it amazingly, which is ironic because, like he said, him and pretty much everybody except for Jessica goofed around on set. Speaking of Jessica, this was one of her breakout roles before she went on to Dark Angel. And of course, that propelled her to be in other movies such as The Eyes, Fantastic Four, and a bunch of other stuff. But sadly, I've noticed something. The two main female, because there are at least 4 female characters in this movie. Well, 5 if you count the mom. All the females have very, very, very little runtime in this movie. Like, they're all barely in this movie. Vivica A. Fox, I forgot she was even in this movie, and the same goes with Jessica Alba. Because once they appear, they just completely disappear until the second act. Then they completely disappear again until the final act in the big climax. It really shows you how far Hollywood has come, and thank God for wokeness and diversity, because like they barely did anything in this movie. They're just there for like eye candy and everything. And that's how a lot of horror movies were at the time, and other movies and television shows and stuff like that. So thank God women have a more prominent role in like projects that they're in today. And it's all because of wokeness and everything. Because of the simple fact, Jessica was used straight up for eye candy and eye candy only. Now, look, I like Jessica Alba. I've been a fan since Dark Angel. She's gorgeous. She can act. She can do action. There are times where she does get typecast, where she only has like a one note type acting, where it's just kind of like serious, kind of realistic, and kind of like rude and snappy and everything, which is very much like her Dark Angel role. Is kind of how she is, I've heard, in real life. and she kind of played that same version, but like a different type version in like the Fantastic Four movies. She does tend to act differently in other things now, but a lot of the time she's pretty much just like typecast as this one specific type role. Now in this movie, she's made to be played kind of like the dumb blonde type. Like here's this guy, like, they know there's a killer around town nobody's found. Here's this guy who she barely knows, and he's been talking to her, and his shirt's all dirty, and he's covered in blood, and his hand is acting all weird. Never does she stop to think that, hey, maybe this guy can be the killer. No, instead, she just wants to make out with him and do stuff with him on her bed and everything. And she's really just there for like eye candiness. This is like one of the only times you'll ever see her with really short hair. Apparently, she was doing teen movies before this, and she was in one famous teen movie that I can't even think of the name of right now, but I had no idea she was even in it. Before this, she was doing like TV shows. She did Flipper. But I think she quit Flipper like after the second season. And I think she was in some type of baseball movie. She might have been in the direct to DVD Sandlot movie, but I'm not 100% sure. And so this was like one of her first breakout roles. Now, sadly, I was not feeling her acting in this movie. Devon Sawa said she took this movie very seriously while they was all joking around, and she was very dedicated because it was one of her first breakout roles, and she wanted to make something of herself. I wasn't really feeling her acting in this movie, but I have felt it in other movies. And sadly, the same thing I could say about Vivica A. Fox. I like Vivica A. Fox acting, but in this movie, both her and Jessica, I just wasn't feeling it. It was just kind of all over the place and stuff. Maybe because they had little screen time, it was just there to be like, a piece of like, rump roasting. Because that's literally what they were, just eye candy and stuff. Because Jessica wore the most revealing outfits in this movie. And then they stripped her down. So she wore this really cutesy type of like, angel outfit that's like a skirt and like a top to it. And she's tied down to like this car. But then all of a sudden it gets completely ripped off and she's just in her underwear. And she's in her underwear for a good chunk of the third act. Then when she's rescued, being horny and everything, she decides to make out with the Devon Sawa character, Anton, while she's still in her bra and underwear. And you can see his hand at one point graze up against her thigh butt area, but then move it away quickly as they're like making out and everything. And she's literally just there for eye candy. And she was very young in that movie. She was probably in her early, like, trying to think, because she was young in Dark Angel. She had to be no more than late 16 or early 17-year-old years and stuff. Because she was like 17 going on 18 or something like that in Dark Angel. I think she was probably fresh off 18 in Dark Angel, but she was probably 17. So she had to be somewhere like 17 years old, like early 17s and stuff when she did this movie. And they paraded her around in her underwear in the third act. And, as for Vivica's character, there's an unconscious scene where this one guy looks kind of into the camera with a horny look and then gives her mouth to mouth to resuscitate her. But you can tell he had the attention, like, ooh, I get to put my lips on her type thing, as she's unconscious because she got hit with a car. And so then there's the other females in this movie. And they fare like a lot worse and everything. Kelly Monaco, I never knew she was an actress. Like, I never knew what she did. I saw her on Dancing with the Stars, the All Stars. And I think they said she won the first season or something like that. But she won it, and people still not sure how she won it and everything. Because apparently her dancing wasn't that great. But I never knew she was an actress or did Playboy. And so she has a nude scene in this where she's topless. And so the guy's making out with her. Her top comes completely off, boobs exposed. And like he's just like making out with her, groping her. And then the idle hand starts to grope her too. And then it strangles her and stuff. Then there's another actress in there who kind of plays kind of like the best friend to Jessica's character, Molly. And so she's barely in it, and she kind of dies, and it's kind of like, I forget, they kind of sexualized her character as well. They don't do this to the male characters in the movie, it's only the females and stuff. Now, this movie has a couple of like famous singers in here. The Offspring is the band at the end of the movie. This one guy from Blink 182 is in this movie. He's working at the burger place. There's this other guy. I'm trying to remember the name. Tom DeLuge or something like that from Blink 182. Then, like I said before, the Offspring is in this, and then there's some guy I've never heard of, Kyle Glass or something like that, and he's a singer and he's in this movie. And so yeah, it had like a lot of famous like singers and stuff. Now, one interesting thing is that the poster, the original poster for the movie, it parodies The Craft. And I think The Craft came out in 1995, which I've already reviewed that. Go watch that. And so the movie starts off, and it's like this older couple, and one is played by Fred Willard, and may he rest in peace. I still can't believe he got in trouble. He got arrested years ago when he was still alive. Apparently, he was Jimmy Crack cornering himself in like a movie theater, and he got charged for that. He said he didn't do nothing, and supposedly there was no evidence, but they still made him take these seminar classes anyway. And so that kind of put like a hold on his career for like a while, but I think he was still able to act after that. I think, I'm not sure. He was on Modern Family. I think that was around the time this happened. And I think that's when they killed his character off and stuff. So yeah, I don't know if he was guilty or not. They said there was no evidence, but ugh, the evidence. But they still made him take seminar classes and stuff. But he was always a funny actor. He should have just waited till he got home if he actually did it. I remember I first saw him in American Wedding, and then he was in Wizards of Waverly Place of all things. But it's him and his wife, and he's having to check the house and make sure all the doors locked and all this and that. And so you get this creepy vibe right away, and then all of a sudden there's like this something written on the ceiling where it says, I'm underneath the bed. And then like I think he dies when he's downstairs, and the wife gets pulled underneath the bed, and you see like all this blood gushing. And it's kind of like, what the heck is making all her blood gush out like this? And so then the next like morning, their son wakes up. Anton, played by Devon Sawa, all he does is watch TV, play video games, get stoned with his friends, and sleeps all day. And so, like, he's really hilarious in this movie, but he goes to his friend's place, played by, Seth Green, who plays Merc or Mick or something like that. And I think Eldon, I think his name is Harmon, I think. I can't remember what his last name is, but he plays Pube and everything. And so it's his stoner friends, and the Eldon actor, his is really comedic, and Seth Green's character is really like rude and comedic and stuff. And so like they're talking about like all these murders that's been happening in town and all this other crap, and he said he hasn't seen his parents in a while. And when he goes back to his home, he actually finds his parents dead and everything. He's freaking out. But then all of a sudden his hand starts to act weird. It starts like flapping around and getting aggressive and wanting to like strangle and hurt people and all this other stuff. And so eventually it kills these like two cops, and then it kills his best friends and everything. So he's freaking out. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And like He eventually goes over to Molly's place, played by Jessica Alba, and like, she just wants to make out for some reason, and he's just kind of worried that his hand might try to like kill her and everything like that. When he goes back to his place, he buried his friends and gave them a eulogy, but then all of a sudden he hears their voices, their hands reach out, and they're zombies now. Now, his friends coming back from the dead and being zombies, that was a bit of a stretch. Now, I can believe for the most part, here's this innocent kid who's dopey, and for whatever reason, his hand got possessed and started murdering people, and the cops are on his trail, and he has to stop his hand and stuff like that. But the friends coming back from the dead and just being there for comedic relief, that was kind of odd. And it never explained why they came back alive, but nobody else the hand killed and everything. Which the hand killed his parents, but he had no I can't talk. He had no memory of that and everything because he was stoned and asleep and everything. And so, like, he's determining what the heck is he gonna do with his hand. Well, he eventually chops it off. His friends all like, oh, that's gonna get infected, if you don't treat that. So they go and do that. And so he's bleeding out, and I think like the girl comes over or something like that. So he's trying to get her away from the house because of course there's zombies here, and they're nice zombies. They're not like evil trying to eat people's brains or nothing like that. But eventually the hand starts moving around on its own and keeps trying to re-kill his friends and everything. So they put it in the microwave, and it's like this really cool effect where it's like blood's gushing out, it's turning black, and they think they killed it, but it's still alive, just looking all demonic now. While all this is going on, there's Vivica A. Fox's character, and her name is Debbie. She first shows up as a nun, but then apparently she's some type of idle hand demon slayer type person who travels around, like, the country looking for the hand. And so, like, she's looking for Devon Sawa's Anton character. At some point, his friends told him to go to this one guy because this one guy who goes to their school knows a lot about like demonic stuff, and so like he's trying to find a way to unpossess his hand. Eventually, this leads them to like the school. Now, the Vivica A. Fox character was trying to kill Anton. That's apparently the only way to like unpossess your hand or something like that. She gets hit with a car. They drive off to the school because apparently by midnight it's gonna try to kill Molly and everything. So they're heading to the school to try to prevent it and stuff. And since it's Halloween time, they're able to just walk right in looking like zombies and everything. And so they're trying their best to find the hand. The hand is like all over the school. And then the hand starts killing a bunch of like the students and everything. Molly and her friend, for whatever reason, decide, hey, instead of trying to run through the doors because everybody else is trampling everybody, why not just like, go through the air duct system for some bizarre reason. Well, of course, they end up getting lost, and the hand ends up chopping the one girl up through the fan and everything, and ends up kidnapping Molly. So then Devon Sawa's character has to rescue her and tied her to like a car. Eventually he did rescue like her, and I forget how he got rid of the hand. Oh, I think there's like a knife that's like magical or something like that, and he threw it. I think it stabbed the knife or something like that. And so, hand go bye-bye. But then something happened, I can't remember what, and I'm unable to rewatch it because it's no longer on Tubi. I think Devon Sawa's character, when he was trying to fight the hand, I think the hand like stabbed him or something like that. And so he has to get rushed to the hospital. Molly's there, and I think he said he saw like a tunnel, a white light, but decided not to go in it. He decided to be with Molly instead. Then all of a sudden you see his two friends, and they appear as ghosts. And he's all like, "Oh, guys, did y'all decide to stay with me and not go into the tunnel of white light?" And they're all like, "Nah, we went into the white light, and now we're your guardian angels and everything." And so, it ends and stuff like that. Now, as for like Vivica A. Fox's character, after she pretty much gets, I think, like, I don't know, knocked out or something like that, like after the hand gets defeated, she goes and bangs, like, this one character. But the thing is that I just now realized all these characters are in high school, and that guy, I think he graduated already. So, okay, so that's a good thing. So he graduated, I'm hoping, because like she went to go bang him after the hand is dead. And it's just kind of like, at first I thought he might have been like a teenager, but I think he graduated. But he was trying to hit on other high school girls at that little party thing, which is like messed up. Like I said before, this movie is like hilarious and stuff. And there's some pretty cool kills here and there with that idle hand. And the CGI, I'm still surprised at how good it's crazy, man. Like when I look at this movie, and especially the first Final Destination movie, it is insane how the CGI is a million times better in the late 90s, early 2000s than it is in 2025. It makes absolutely no sense. But all in all, this was a cool movie. I really want to own it on DVD, but my God, it's too expensive. It does not need to be 25 bucks or 15 to 25 or close to 30. This movie came out in 1999. There's no reason for it to be that much money. Now, if it was a newer movie, fine. That makes sense. But this is an old movie. But now, since it's a cult classic and everything, they bumped the price up. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.